Okay, then we'll go to today's class. Now we'll begin with a short prayer in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So once again, welcome to today's discussion on the wasteland. Last day we completed part 1. Out of these 5 parts, we completed part 1. Part 1 was entitled The Burial of the Dead. So death was a very vivid presence in the first part, or even throughout the poem. But the second part is entitled A Game of Chess. Maybe the first a little discussion is the game of chess. So, in one way, if you think beyond the real game itself, what thought comes to your mind when you say a game of chess? What can it be?
It's a mind game. So
It's a mind game, yeah.
It's all about predicting the outcome of events.
Yes, yes. That is the speciality of the game. Yeah. Then, what more?
It's a game for kings.
Okay. A king against a king. As they say, a king sometimes sacrifices even queen and everyone. I suppose I'm not a big player, but then king. But the king, I think, is the most weak, least valued. That way also, is it? So kings strive for supremacy, manipulating and sacrificing their queens, knights, bishops, castles, everything. Although, in fact, the 2 kings are the weakest pieces on the board, also they say. So, anyway, the kings and then in actually T.S. Eliot mentions, we are talking of the title, this second. The title of the second part. He said it mentions the chess game in one famous work, Thomas Middleton's Women Beware Women. There's a famous literary piece in which it is said that a widow is distracted by the playing of the game of chess from, in a way, the Duke's seduction of her daughter-in-law, Bianca, in the next room. So this game of chess is used as a ploy to distract attention, one thing. But sometimes it is another very powerful film, perhaps a classic film that comes to our mind is the Danish film, The Seventh Seal, a famous, the Bergman's. When we speak of the history of the film and all this, we often speak of this seventh seal. In this, there is one of the central images is the chess play between death and the knight. So death comes to take away this knight from the Middle Ages who is returning from this famous crusades. He's returning. But then this chess play becomes a central theme in the seventh seal. When we say seventh seal, immediately our thought goes to Revelations. When the seventh seal was opened, there was a big silence, it is said, in heaven. So another big image that comes to our mind with this title is no, chess is the seventh seal. Also in the great legend, there is sometimes this knight visits a chessboard castle where he meets a water maiden. So that also is another image. Again, Shakespeare is one of the recurring works in our work. Lately, we found one play of Shakespeare. Do you remember? The
Tempest.
The Tempest. The Tempest concludes. The Tempest is perhaps the background is an ancient rivalry between two kingdoms, Milan and Naples. But they are perhaps going to be, towards the end of the play, they are going to be united by the promise of marriage of Prince Ferdinand. And I already mentioned that, how Prince Ferdinand and Prospero's daughter, Miranda. But then they are now, towards the end of the play, they are discovered playing together a game of chess, signifying perhaps a rational nature of their love. It's not just passion love, but they are going to be married, they are lovers, but playing chess, which is something beautiful. But then Mary also indicating a premarital chastity. They are, such a beautiful picture of both of them playing. And a war, but without any, chess is kind of a war, but a war without any rancor or malice. So so all these images, when we say a game of chess, perhaps all these images are brought to our mind. Paul? Now we go to the poem itself. It is a very vivid scene of perhaps first a dressing table of some woman. That's how it dramatically begins. Showing us the room of a woman. But then first we'll begin reading, and then we will go to some of the reflections so that its depth will be brought out. The chair she sat in, like a burnished throne, glowed on the marble, where the glass held up by standards. Glass, that means mirror, held up by standards, some frame wrought with fruited vines. So there's a real work around the mirror. There's a table. So around she's sitting in her room, and there is glowing marble, where the glass held up by standards wrought with fruited vines, from which a golden cupids, a golden cupidon. These are like beautiful cupids, beings peeped out. Another hid his eyes behind his wing. So one cupid is looking, and another cupid is peeping from behind. Then doubled the flames of 7-branched candelabra. This 7-branched lights. Do you remember anything? 7-branched, brother? 7-branched candelabra.
Is it still referring to Book of Revelation?
Book of Revelation, but where is that? 7-branched lights kept. The Moses building the ark, the tent of sacrifice. No,
it's on the top of it.
Yeah, there was this in the Old Testament, there was this 7 branch. So for Jews, this was a beautiful symbol. When we have the Jewish images,
Hanukkah.
one is this,
Hanukkah.
yeah, 7 branched
Feast of
this
Hanukkah.
light, and the Star of David another. So 7 branched candelabra. She has this, and because the perhaps the marble is so polished and clear, it is doubled. So you can see the double the flame, reflecting light upon the table. So there is all this light is coming on her table. She's sitting there. The glitter of her jewels rose to meet it. So there are, so we understand that she's sitting in front of the table, and the glitter of her jewels. There are so many ornaments kept from satin cases. So all these ornaments are kept in satin cases. They poured in rich profusion. So they are the reflection is coming out. In other words, we are immediately impressed by this very beautiful setting of this woman's dressing table. From satin case, okay, in vials of ivory and colored glass. So there are containers of ivory containers and colored glass, unstoppered. So they are, opened, lurked her strange synthetic perfumes. Suddenly there is a deflating. It is only synthetic perfumes. So we think that maybe everything is synthetic here. Otherwise, until now it was so glorious. Last week I was speaking about mock heroic, a glorious description, and in between we are suddenly told about something very shallow. So synthetic perfumes, unguent, something like ointment, different kinds of perfumes, unguent, powdered, some perfume is powder, or liquid, different kinds of perfumes, troubled, confused, and drowned the senses in odors. So different smells are coming out. So she's there. So the light, the glass, the different perfumes, stirred by the air that freshened from the window. So there is the window. These ascended in fattening the prolonged candle flames. So these winds are coming, this wind is carrying the perfume, and these flames are, glowing because of this wind. Flung their smoke into L'Aquaria, stirring the patterns on the coffered ceiling. So these are sending up smokes to the ceiling. And there's a description of ceiling. L'Aquaria, there's a paneling, L'Aquaria. So the panel, the ceiling, rich ceiling, and coffered, like there are patterns, some square or other patterns on the ceiling. In other words, there's a description, a rich description of her room. We'll continue and come back again. All this means much more than what we have seen. First, let's see its meaning, then we'll come back. Okay. Maybe we'll come back here itself. I think the same slide. So move the slide. Now, one thing is, this becomes, in a way, similar to the description of another famous Shakespearean work, which is Antony and Cleopatra. Antony and Cleopatra, another famous love story. Who is Mark Antony? At one time, there were the triumvirates, 3 people ruling in Rome. Caesar, Anthony and one more, three of them ruling. And Anthony comes to conquer, or fight against Egypt. Egypt was ruled by Cleopatra. But then there is a scene in Act 2, scene 1. One of these people, Enobarbus, from the court of Queen, coming and, narrating the meeting of Mark Antony, and how this is Enobarbus' description of Cleopatra, the Egyptian queen, as she floats on her ship down Kindes River to meet Antony. It goes like this. The barge she sat in, like a burnished throne. Hear what he's saying? The chair she sat in, like a burnished throne. So those who are familiar with Anthony and Cleopatra will immediately remember. Now what happens is, he comes to fight, but Cleopatra is a glorious queen coming forward, and she's coming in this big barge, like a row of dimpled boys standing on either side. She's gloriously dressed in this barge, in this ship. She's coming, and there is this golden poop, the backside, the stage, everything, and she's flowing in. Anthony falls flat for this beauty. He forgets the fighting. He falls in love with this enemy. Finally, we find the tragedy of Anthony. This great hero somehow falls at the feet of this queen, and he becomes a puppet in the hands of this queen finally. This is how it goes. So it goes like this. The barge she sat in, like a burnished throne, burned on the water. The poop was beaten gold. The upper deck was beaten gold, which to the tune of flutes kept stroke and made the water which they beat to follow faster. And it goes on describing, Enobarbus is describing this very picturesque scene of Cleopatra's entry. Now, when we are talking of this woman, we don't know this woman's name. We only think of some woman. Later, when we continue with this description by T.S. Eliot in The Wasteland, we think all this glorious setting is not that setting of the sublime love of this beauty queen. No, she becomes a little neurotic lady, what we are going to see in future lines. So one quick depiction is Cleopatra. Now, another famous one, perhaps we won't go much into it. There is also a description of Shakespeare's another work by Shakespeare. This drama is called Cymbeline. Cymbeline. Shakespeare has written, it's a little debatable, traditionally 37 plays. 37 plays Shakespeare's written. Some major tragedies, minor tragedies, historical novels, historical dramas, then comedies, romantic comedies. There's a different groups of. Now, Cymbeline describes the story of an ancient British king, Cymbeline, who has 3 children. 2 of them are, even as small children, they are separated from the king. But now he's living with his only remaining child, that is Imogen, daughter, symbol in the king's Imogen, daughter. Now the king plans marriage with another man, but then Imogen is in love with there's Postumus. Now there is a cunning villain. He wants to convince this Postumus that Imogen is not chaste. So this Iachimo, when Imogen is sleeping, visits the room of Imogen and comes and tells Postumus a lot of details about Imogen's bedroom. And also something about, even some marks about her own, distinguishing marks on Imogen's body even. To say that he knows Imogen very intimately. So this is a treachery, a cheating. Thus, Postumus is, becoming suspicious of Imogen. So there are some lines really reflecting this description by Iachimo about Imogen. She says, these are the lines. There are some, the room is hung with tapestries meeting Antony and Cleopatra, one is. Then chaste Diana bathing. And he goes on to say, these are lines from Cymbeline, Act 2, Scene 4. The roof of the chamber with golden cherubims is fettered. Later we will see the golden cherubims is fettered. Her andirons, I had forgotten them, were two winking cupids. Here also cupids. Two winking cupids of silver, each on one foot standing nicely, depending on their branch. So there is, even KSA mentions this Cymbeline. So one scene is from Shakespeare's Cymbeline. So all these great love, treachery, all these backgrounds are suddenly brought to our mind by this description of T.S. Eliot. Also, there is a reference from Aeneid, Virgil's epic poem Aeneid. There is the gold paneling and ceiling and all the beautiful setting in this famous Latin poem. All these backgrounds are shown or in a way referred to in this poem here. We continue. We go to the next part. And the continuing. Huge seawood fed with copper, burned green and orange, framed by the colored stone, in which sad light a carved dolphin swam. So there is now wood burning. What could it be? The wood burning? The wood burning? The fireplace. The fireplace. Now the woman's, we are coming back to the description of this woman's room. There is a fire in the fireplace, the wood is burning. It is burning beautifully. Huge seawood fed with copper, burned green and orange, framed by the colored stone in which sad light a carved dolphin swam. So in this colored stone, there was the picture of a swimming dolphin. Another picture. The swimming dolphin is there. Continue. Above the antique mantle was displayed the mantelpiece. Above this fireplace, they're displayed as though a window gave upon a sylvan scene. Something like the window opening to a sylvan scene. In Latin, silva means forest. Silva. So, sylvan means a rustic, a country scene. Perhaps one person who has used the sylvan scene is the famous epic poem in English. That is our Milton. Any idea Milton's famous epic poem? Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost. There is a second part also, Paradise Regained. It's in about 14 books. Milton describes the creation, the paradise, Adam and Eve, finally the Satan coming, seeing the beautiful garden. He's so upset about it, and he is scheming to tempt. And how he tempts, first Eve, Adam also falls for it. All this is described in detail in beautiful language. This is John Milton's Paradise Lost. And in Paradise Lost, this sylvan scene, it is a phrase used by John Milton. And what is the setting? Here in paradise, first time Adam and Eve, the innocent people, are living there in complete joy. Now, Satan, he escapes from the chaos called hell, and he approaches paradise to seduce man, to disobedience from God's command. So, Satan is approaching paradise. Then, when he looks, what he sees is the sylvan scene, the beautiful country setting. So, Milton uses this phrase. So, anyone who is familiar with Milton will immediately think of this phrase. He used sylvan scene. So here also, there is this, above the mantelpiece, there is a painting or a display, a sylvan scene. And what is the scene? The change of Philomel. The change of Philomel. We will come back to the change of Philomel, but the picture is the change of Philomel. The Philomela change by the barbarous king. We will meet Tereus, the barbarous king, so rudely forced. There is this, that scene, the rape of Philomel is pictured there. Yet there the nightingale filled all the desert with inviolable voice, and still she cried, and still the world pursues. jug to dirty ears. So there is this picture of the rape of Philomel that is pictured there on this above the mantelpiece. Now, what is this change of Philomel? There are a lot of versions to the story, the Philomela story, but Eliot's note mentions this famous story from Greek times. Here, Philomela, or she's called, she's the daughter of Pandion, the king of Athens. And she has a sister, Procne. And Procne's husband is this Tereus that we are mentioning. This is here also mentioned the barbarous king, Tereus. So Philomela and Procne, and Procne is in Tarse. She is the wife of Tereus. Now, Procne wanted her sister to come and visit her. Actually, in the beginning, her father did not want to send her alone. So Tereus goes to Athens, and he accompanied Philomela to Athens. Now, when they disembarked, Tereus takes Philomela to a hut in a dark wood, and he violently raped the virgin. So Philomela is raped in this woods. Now, when she threatened to accuse him, Tereus cut out her tongue with a sword and raped her again in that blood. So she is repeatedly raped, and she is shut up afterwards for a year in that hut. Now, Philomela does something. She cleverly waved into a tapestry the story of her sufferings and had it conveyed to her sister Procne. So she somehow sent this stitching or tapestry, and on the cloth she artistically stitched the story and sent it in a picture. Who then found her prison and secretly brought her back to the palace. Now, they plotted revenge together, these two sisters, Procne and Philomela. They plotted the revenge. What did they do? Procne had a son by Tereus, Itys. That is the son's name. So he had all the similarities of her father, Tereus. So both the sisters stabbed him in the chest and cut his throat. The mother and sister killed the son, killed the child, and the two sisters then butchered the boy's body, cooked it by boiling in kettles and by roasting it over fire. And when Tereus came back, they served this roasted meat of the child to the father. Now, he ate, and during this, Philomela appeared with the boy's bloody head and thrust it to Tereus. So then only he realized that he was eating his own child's body. So she took revenge that way. Tereus naturally becomes terribly angry, and he chases them. But then, as both the women run away, and when he ran and when they were about to be caught, Procne was changed into a swallow. Both of them were changed into birds, or all three of them. Procne became a swallow. Philomela became a nightingale. And Tereus, different versions. In some versions, Tereus becomes a hunting bird, but then in some versions, he becomes a hoopoe, a bird with a lot of beautiful crown over the head. Hoopoe, Hoopoe, hoopoe. So Tereus into a hoopoe bird, Procne into a swallow, and Philomela into a nightingale. They become. Even now, the chase is continuing. This hunting bird is, even now, nightingale is being hunted by. Now, and even now, the nightingale is crying. So each cry of the nightingale is a story repeated about the innocent virgin being raped by a cruel king. Now, this image comes back again and again. Even it gets repeated. Even the bird image is repeated in the poem again and again. Now, so this is the Philomela story that is narration. So once again, the window gave upon the sylvan scene. And what was the scene? The change of Philomela. So either the rape scene or rape by the barbarous king. Who is the barbarous king? Tereus. Tereus comes back again in the poem. And nightingale also comes back again. Because the cry of the nightingale and the hunting of Tereus is continuing in the wasteland. It is perpetuated. It is going on even today. The barbarous king so rudely forced the rape scene, the ravish, the forceful ravishing is mentioned here. Yet there the nightingale filled the desert with inviolable voice. Even today, unconsolably, the nightingale is continuing to cry. And the whole desert is filled with this cry. Or the whole wasteland is filled with the cry, the painful cry of these innocent birds. And still she cried. And still the world pursues. Jug, jug, to dirty ears. Still the world pursues. Jug, jug, to dirty ears. Now, this is also, in a way, this is also a reference, the jug, jug to dirty ears. Because there is this, later also, this expression is repeated. Now, this is in Jug Jug. They are words often used in Elizabethan poetry. The Elizabethan poetry is, that's a time like Shakespeare and so many other famous poets lived in Elizabethan era. So in Elizabethan era, this jug jug are the words used to, one thing for Nightingale's song. And also, it is used as a slang for sexual intercourse. For example, famous John Lilly. He in his play Alexander and Campaspe. There is these passages I'm reading from this John Lilly's display. What bird so sings, yet does so wail? It's asking, which bird is singing like this? Oh, it is the ravished nightingale. It is the ravished nightingale. Oh, jug, 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 tear you. The same thing. And it will be repeated in this poem again. She cries, and still her woes at midnight rise. Brave Brixham. In one way, Shakespeare, T.S. Eliot echoes these jug jug. So this is an indication, this jug jug is an indication of sexual intercourse. And he says, this sound is still continuing. So still the world pursues jug jug to dirty ears. And of course, we are continuing with the description of this room. And other withered stumps of time were told upon the walls. Now in this room, we are, don't forget, we are, when we are talking about all these literary connections, we are still talking about the details from this room of this, some woman. Still, we don't know this woman. So, and other withered stumps of time were told upon the walls. Staring forms leaned out. So many staring forms. Many pictures were there, leaning, hushing the room enclosed. So perhaps up to this is the description of the room. Footsteps shuffled on the stair. Suddenly, somebody is coming. Shuffled on the stair, footsteps. What does it mean? Shuffling on the stair. That means somebody is coming and not very confident. That's why shuffling. Footsteps shuffled on the stair. Under the firelight, under the brush, her hair spread out in fiery points. Her hair is spreading out in fiery points. It's standing out. There's another famous picture of hair standing out in mythology. Who is that?
Medusa.
Yes. What is that? Medusa.
It's serpents.
Yeah, like serpents. The hair is like serpents. So sometimes we are suddenly reminded of that. So hair spread out in fiery points. Here not serpents, but fiery ends. End of, that means she is so very much, worked up, glowed into words. Then would be savagely still. Oxymoron, perhaps. Even hair is savagely still. Very opposite things. Savage is violent, still is quiet. That's what the opposite things are put together as oxymoron. So this is opposite things. And she's saying, my nerves are bad tonight. My nerves are bad tonight.
Move to the next page.
Yeah.
You only have 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, Procne, the story. Yeah. Procne, all that is there. Yeah, continue. Saying, my nerves are bad tonight. Nothing is told about who this woman is. But only her word suddenly comes out. My nerves are bad tonight. Yes, bad. Stay with me. Speak to me. Speak. Speak. Again, the one side speech, no? We don't know. There is someone on the other side. Must be a man. A helpless man. Why don't you talk, somebody? These men never talk. They have swallowed their tongue. What? So I'm troubled. Why don't you say something? So stay with me. Speak to me. Why do you never speak? Speak. What are you thinking? What? Thinking? What? I never know what you are thinking. Think. So all this is, maybe it shows a special mental state of this woman. Some much strange mental state of woman. There are something, even this is very pregnant with. One day she was there standing, sitting, getting ready, and someone is shuffling, coming in, but then her mental state is terrible. But sometimes others find into all this another Shakespeare drama, perhaps. Not too direct, but anyway, people sometimes find another Shakespeare drama. Last time for something else I mentioned, Hamlet. Hamlet. The story of Hamlet is murder, illicit marriage, perhaps, revenge, or lack of revenge, postponement of revenge, where at the beginning of the play, Prince Hamlet is visited by his father, dead father's ghost, tells him that he was killed by his brother, and asks him to take revenge so that he will experience freedom. And his mother has already, Gertrude, his mother has already married this Claudius, King Claudius, that is uncle, the villain, Claudius. Now, at one point later, about the middle of it, they want to find out what is going into the man, and Hamlet is pretending madness. So the tricky Polonius arranges a meeting between the son and the mother. That means Hamlet and his mother, Queen Gertrude, in her private room. But then as they're, talking, Hamlet talks very passionately, and Polonius was hiding behind the curtain, spying. But then he makes some noise suddenly, and Hamlet takes a sword and pierces through the curtain and kills Polonius. Because it was sudden action, but his thinking was that could be Claudius, perhaps. But fortunately and unfortunately, this was this poor Polonius who falls down. Now there's now very emotional scene where Gertrude suddenly says, "Oh, Hamlet, speak no more. Oh, speak to me no more." She goes on saying, because Hamlet begins to speak about her great crime. And she becomes very passionate, saying, "Speak to me no more." Here, just the opposite. Speak to me. But there is another extreme. Speak to me. Then, the in between, the ghost comes again appears again. Hamlet sees the ghost, but Gertrude cannot see the ghost. And ghost says, speak to her. But then they are conversing, and the queen is asking, to whom do you speak? The Hamlet is saying, do you see nothing? Hamlet is asking mother, do you see nothing? Queen says, no, nothing at all. And Hamlet says, don't you hear nothing? Because Hamlet sees and hears his father's ghost, but no one else, or his mother doesn't see the ghost or hears the ghost. Now, somehow there is an echo. Hamlet is a very famous drama. So there is perhaps an echo here. And also later Gertrude says, what shall I do? What should I do now? She's ready to change. And Hamlet says, never sleep with Claudius again. Claudius will come with endearing words and all that, but never sleep with him now. That's what he tells his mother. Now, what I'm saying is there is an echo of this also in another way here in these lines of this nervous woman. So, stay with me, speak to me. Why do you not speak? Speak. What are you thinking of? What thinking? What? I never know what you're thinking. All that. This is a very worked up mind of a woman, very emotional woman. Suddenly there's a shift. I think we are in Rat's Alley. In a Rat's Alley. That means a hopeless place. Sometimes, even later, we see these little canals, dirty canals, where only rats are moving. So we are in a Rat's Alley, where the dead men lost their bones. We are in a hopeless situation, where dead men lost their bones. You want to change the slide? Just, no, it's okay. It's the same. Yeah. No, this is yeah. The same. What is that noise? The wind under the door. Again, this is there's another reference, but I think those who are reading these plays, Webster, another famous drama, there's a question, is the wind under the door still? From the Devil's Lockeys of Webster. So, the wind under the door. What is that noise now? What is the wind doing? Nothing. Again, nothing. So, here, perhaps if we are talking of this woman, the mind of people in the wasteland, so very much worked up, so very much in a confused state. What is that noise? The wind under the door. What is that noise now? Suddenly, did you hear something? What is that wind doing? Nothing. Again, nothing. Do you know nothing? Do you see nothing? Do you remember nothing? So, Can't you see anything? Do you see nothing? Do you remember nothing? Yeah, suddenly you remember from Hamlet, I already mentioned, no? Do you see nothing? Do you hear nothing? I remember. Those are pearls that were his eyes. Remember the reference? Huh? Full fathom find thy father lies. Yes, it is from The Tempest. Full fathom, Ariel song. Full fathom find thy father lies. Those are pearls that were his eyes. Look. So those are pearls that were his eyes. Are you alive or not? Is there nothing in your head? Little by little, we are given an inkling into someone's mind. Broken pieces, broken emotions, total disconnectedness with reality. But oh, that Shakespearean rag. Actually, there's a reference to the Shakespearean rag. There used to be some, famous popular hit song, Shakespearean rag. But anyway, we can also think about these pieces by Shakespeare, from Shakespeare. That is the reference to the previous passage. Oh, the Shakespearean rag. It is so elegant, so intelligent. Shall we finish this for 10 minutes more, so that this part will be over?
Yeah, I think we can do that, but a few lines are missing here. In the next portion, only 4 more lines are here. But from what shall I do till upon the door? But that is 8 lines in the poem.
Next please.
I don't think so. It should be next part.
Okay. Actually, it's not very important. The hot water, that's it, no? What shall I do now? What shall I do? I shall rush out as I am and walk the street with my hair down so. What shall we do tomorrow? What shall we ever do? If it is the mind of the woman, perhaps the great thing is that one thing is the confusion, then what to do, how to fill the time. With I shall rush out as I am and walk the street with my hair down so. What shall we do tomorrow? What shall we ever do? So perhaps is it indicative of a deep disorientation in the mind of the dwellers of the wasteland? Then now a routine is mentioned in the next 4 lines. For hot water at 10. And if it rains, a closed car at 4. And we shall play a game of chess. Resting lidless eyes and waiting for a knock upon the door. This shows every day, hot water at 10, we get up at 10 in the morning perhaps, hot water at 10, and if it rains, a closed car at 4. So then we have the evening to go to the club, is it? A closed car at 4, and we shall play a game of chess. Is it in the club? Again, so finally, the title comes back here, a game of chess. Pressing lidless eyes and waiting for the knock upon the door. Which is the lidless eyes? Lidless eyes Your skull does not have any eyelid. The skull does not have a lid, eyelid. So that can be a lidless eyes. But anyway, that is also perhaps your piercing look, the lidless eyes. Perhaps the sign of life in the eyes is we are, blinking. Without blinking, you stare. That could also be lidless eyes. But lidless eye is also the skulls look, the skeletons look. We have, perhaps we'll stop here, but in this part we have one more very interesting scene, another woman, or is it same woman? We don't know. Another scene, perhaps we'll go to that in the next class, the next part. But maybe we were present in this game of chess. This setting, detailed setting, all reflecting various literary references, very rich, indicating the life today of the women of long time back, the women of love of long time back. And another woman here, she is with a neurotic mind we come across. This is the mental state of certain people playing the game of chess in the wasteland. Any thoughts? Any points? Huh? Come on, brother. Any thoughts? You?
Yeah.
I can stop the
It's,
recording.
there is a description of beauty, but also the whole situation